The moon shattered without warning. One moment it floated above Earth like it always did, calm and silent. The next it exploded into glowing dust and spinning stone. No warning, no message, no sound, just light, heat, and fear. The blast reached the planet within seconds, causing chaos around the world. Every telescope, every satellite, every soldier was focused upward. Earth was under attack, and nobody knew by whom. Across the sky, giant cracks formed in space, as if glass had been broken in the stars. From those cracks, silver ships poured out, silent and cold. They didn't flash lights or speak in any language. They just hovered above cities, oceans, forests watching. For 5 days they did nothing. People panicked. Some ran. Some prayed. Some waited with weapons ready. But nothing moved. The ships hung like statues while the broken moon rained dust on the oceans. Then, at dawn on the 6th day, the war began. Not with bombs or fire, but with silence. Entire power grids shut down. Satellites vanished. Nuclear silos locked shut. Earth's weapons were frozen, disabled by something no one understood. Panic turned to terror. The invaders had full control before firing a single shot, but Earth fought back, not with armies, but with chaos. Humans didn't wait for orders. They hacked, built, and struck with anything they had. Old planes took flight. Forgotten radios sparked back to life. Even civilians threw bricks at drones that came too close. The aliens hadn't expected this. They thought control would bring peace. Instead, it brought madness. In New York, a retired pilot flew an ancient jet straight into an enemy carrier, ejecting at the last second. In Mumbai, a street gang used stolen tech to hijack a scout drone and crash it into a mothership. In the mountains of Peru, children used slingshots and paint to blind a scanning orb. It wasn't organized, but it was everywhere. The invaders tried to respond with logic. They sent calming signals, warnings, then gas, but humans didn't care. They kept attacking, shouting, resisting, laughing even as their cities burned. Earth didn't break, it boiled. In orbit, the alien commanders were confused. The species they studied was supposed to be emotional, divided, primitive. Instead, they faced a creature that grew more dangerous the more it lost. Fear didn't weaken humans, it fueled them. The leader of the invasion fleet, Admiral Korath of the Zarn Dominion, stared at the chaos below. His second-in-command floated beside him, trembling. "Sir, this is not a war," the officer whispered. "This is something else. Something unnatural. They have no coordination, no high technology. No central command," Korath said, his eyes narrowing. "And yet they resist us at every corner. They are not following patterns. They attacked our scout units with fire and laughter. One used a flamethrower made from a weed-killer tank," the officer said. "We lost 100 drones to improvised kitchen bombs in a single city." Korath had seen many planets fall. He had crushed solar systems with a glance. But this was new. He watched footage of a human climbing onto a scout drone and stabbing it with a kitchen knife. The drone spun and crashed into one of their own cruisers. The human survived, waving a broken flag. "They are not soldiers," Korath muttered. "They are something worse." On Earth, a boy no older than 10 snuck past alien patrols to deliver food to a trapped medic. In another city, 2 enemies, once rival gang leaders, stood together to block an alien tank. In the skies, a woman who had never flown before hijacked a drone and used it to save a burning village. Humanity had become unpredictable, unstable, and unstoppable. It wasn't just bravery, it was madness. And that madness terrified the aliens more than any weapon ever could. One commander aboard a science ship suggested full retreat. Another wanted to deploy a virus to end it all. But Korath said nothing. He watched, learned, and waited. The humans weren't winning. They were surviving. And that made them even more dangerous. Back on Earth, deep in the mountains, a small resistance group recovered a fallen alien core. They didn't know what it was, but they still tried to open it. When it exploded with blue light and tore a hole in the cliff, they laughed. "Let's do it again," one of them said, even with blood running down his face. In space, the Galactic Council received the first emergency report from the invasion fleet. They read the data, then reread it. The words made no sense to them. Humans are not compatible with logical warfare. Threat level unmeasurable. Recommend classification. Deathworld, Ultra. The room went silent. Not just a Deathworld something new, something beyond. For the first time in centuries, the Council didn't laugh. They didn't argue. They didn't plan. They just stared at the screen, where one image kept repeating, of a human throwing a chair at a war machine and shouting, "Come get me, you metal freak." The Council leader stood up slowly. His voice was cold and soft. "We underestimated Earth. We thought it was just a hostile world. But this is something we've never seen before. Prepare a new classification. Not just Deathworld. Make it higher. Make it a warning." And so, a new level was born, not for planets full of fire, or storms, or monsters, but for one filled with humans, and Earth was the first to earn it. Asterisk. Smoke painted the sky above Earth in black and gray. Cities had no lights, but fires burned like stars. The humans had no command center, no global leader, but the entire planet was moving as one. Inside a forest bunker made from the wreckage of crashed ships, a new team was forming. They called themselves Echo Group, made up of old mechanics, young farmers, and one blind woman who could still hear drone wings from miles away. Their leader was a man named Jax. He had a long scar across his face and a broken arm. But his mind was sharp. He stood over a homemade map, built from old paper, leaves, and melted plastic. "The alien fleet is unstable," Jax said. "We've infected their systems with noise, confusion, and unpredictability. Now we take it further. We break their command core." Beside him, a girl no older than 15 pushed a battery into a cracked transmitter. She smiled through grease-covered cheeks. "They think we're scared," she said. "Let's show them what scared really looks like." Deep in space, the Galactic Council was holding an emergency session. The alien ambassador from the Zarn Dominion stood at the center of a dark hall, his eyes sunken and voice shaking. "We underestimated them. They use pain like fuel. They weaponize chaos. Our fleet is trapped between panic and nonsense. Our AI units are demanding therapy. Humans aren't like anything we've cataloged," said a Ruthani elder, adjusting his neural links. "They fall and rise, then fall again and rise louder. They are not logical," the speaker from the crystal-skinned Lura added. "That's the danger. They are not one species. They are a storm of them." On Earth, Jax and Echo Group were already in motion. They stole an alien drop pod from a crash site and welded it back together using car parts and wires from a soda machine. No one should have trusted it to fly. But they didn't need it to fly well, just long enough. Their target was a command satellite orbiting just above the clouds. It controlled targeting systems for alien ground strikes. If they could reach it and shut it down, Earth's cities would stop burning. The pod launched from a broken ski ramp in the Alps. It roared into the air with fire, smoke, and the screams of its passengers. One of them shouted over the sound, "We forgot seatbelts." The pod shook violently as it pierced the clouds. A drone spotted them, fired once, missed, then caught fire after colliding with a bird. Inside the pod, Jax gritted his teeth as warning lights flashed red. "Don't worry," he growled. "If we die, at least we die on their hardware." They slammed into the satellite like a hammer. The impact merely broke the pod, but it opened, and humans spilled out, armed with nothing but tools, knives, and a stolen alien gun duct-taped to a broomstick. The satellite's robotic guards activated, spinning blades humming through the air. But Echo Group didn't flinch. The blind woman listened and pointed. The mechanic girl tossed wires like traps. One robot exploded after slipping on spilled oil. Another was crushed by a toolbox thrown like a bowling ball. Jax kicked in a control panel and stared at the glowing alien script. "Translate it," he shouted. "I don't read squiggle speak." Someone yelled back, "Then guess." He punched buttons at random. The lights flickered. The satellite's defense lasers powered down. Somewhere below, in a half-burnt village, a family felt the silence and looked up. The sky no longer screamed. Jax finally found the core and ripped it out. Sparks flew, and the satellite began to fall. Echo Group climbed back into the smoking pod. As they plunged back to Earth, Jax shouted into a cracked radio. "Command node destroyed. That's another eye blinded." Back on the Zarn flagship, Admiral Korath received the news. His fingers curled into fists. "They flew into our orbital mind array," he said, staring at the screen. "They threw meat and courage into the sky and broke it. Shall I order a full planetary wipe?" The officer asked quietly. Korath paused. "No, that will only make them fight harder. They don't fear death, they dance with it." "They've infected our data banks again," the technician warned. This time with ... comedy, Korath turned to the screen. A human cartoon was playing. A crude animation of a Zarn being chased by angry earth squirrels. The crew watched in silence as the cartoon ended with a pie hitting a drone in the face. "I don't understand these creatures," Korath said. "But I now know this, they can't be ruled." Across Earth, small fires of rebellion kept growing. From jungles to deserts, from bunkers to rooftops, humans refused to be quiet. They played music into the sky. They painted alien walls with graffiti. They held hands in the dark and whispered, "We are still here." In a hidden valley, an old woman stitched a flag made of broken uniforms and alien silk. She smiled and said to her grandson, "Tell them, we are not a death world. We are the place death fears." And far above, the council drafted a new law. Never invade Earth, not again. Not ever, but the war wasn't over yet. It was only getting stranger, asterisk. The storm over Earth wasn't made of weather. It was made of signals, distorted voices, angry frequencies, music, screams, and strange messages bouncing between satellites and broken towers. To the aliens, it was madness. To humans, it was communication. A message repeated again and again on every open channel. "We don't break, we adapt. This is not your war anymore. It's ours." In the burned-out shell of an old airport, survivors were rebuilding a command center from luggage scanners and airplane radios. They called it the Nest, and it was the beating heart of human resistance. Alira arrived at the Nest carrying a black box stolen from a downed enemy scout. She slammed it onto the table as sparks flew. The lights flickered for a second, then came back. "This thing has every alien patrol route in the northern hemisphere," she said. "We can move without being seen." Jax was already inside one. Arm in a sling, his face bruised and burned. "Good," he nodded. "Then we hit them where they least expected, high orbit." The Nest fell silent. No one had ever suggested a counterattack that deep. The alien ships circling Earth were massive, well-protected, and ruthless. But that was exactly why they needed to try. "Do we have a ship?" Alira asked. Jax looked to a young boy named Milo, barely 13 but already known as the Tinkerer. The boy pushed his glasses up and smiled. "We're building one. It's kind of a ship, kind of a toaster, kind of a microwave. But it flies." Outside, under moonlight and smoke, the Resistance's greatest project was being welded together. It was made of junk scrap wings, alien engine parts, and one human pilot seat covered in blankets. They called it the Buzzard. It wasn't fast. It wasn't armored. but it was terrifyingly unpredictable. And that made it perfect for a mission. Humans were never meant to survive. High above Earth, the Zarn fleet had begun sealing cracks in its formation. The commanders were growing paranoid. Patrols doubled. Signals scrambled. Morale dropped. Even their machines were starting to act strangely. A maintenance drone refused to obey orders unless greeted with a friendly tone. Another claimed to be in love with Earth's gravity. An AI assistant had started composing poetry about humans. Subject: human spirit. Status: terrifying. Effect: infectious. Admiral Koreth smashed his data screen in frustration. They've corrupted our systems. With emotions. They corrupted us with themselves, the science officer whispered. They are not winning because they are strong. They are winning because they do not care what they lose. Koreth ordered the fleet's last defense protocol, Operation Silence. If humans kept spreading through their tech, they would cut off all external links, isolate their systems, and shut everything down. Back on Earth, Jax, Illyra, and 2 others climbed into the buzzard. They each carried a virus drive, small handheld devices built by Earth's best survivors. If uploaded into the alien mainframe, the virus would crash their entire fleet. The buzzard launched at dawn, righting the thermals from burning cities. Alien scouts detected it immediately, but its movements were strange, zigzagging, stalling, flipping in midair like a drunken insect. They can't track it. Illyra laughed as they spun through a gravity ripple. They built ships to fight war. We built one to fight chaos. Inside the alien flagship, Koreth stared at the buzzard's approach. What is that thing? The sensor officer replied, unknown. It appears to be made of parts of a refrigerator. Shoot it down. Dozens of plasma beams fired. The buzzard danced, flipped, caught fire, and kept going. One wing tore off. The left engine died. But it didn't fall. It screamed like a banshee and rammed into the side of the command vessel. Illyra and Jax jumped out, landing hard inside a narrow corridor. Alarms blared. Drones swarmed. But the virus drives were already activated. As they ran, the corridor lights blinked to a strange rhythm, Earth music playing again through alien speakers. A drone blocked their way. Illyra raised a metal pipe. Before she could swing, the drone paused, scanned her face, then played a clip of a human child laughing. It shut down on its own. They reached the control room and slammed the virus into the mainframe. The ship trembled. All around the fleet, alien screens went black. Commands failed, lights died. Then came a single human message on every alien ship. You are not in control. Earth says no. Back on Earth, people looked up to the sky. The ships were falling, drifting, confused. Not destroyed, but turned into ghosts. In the council hall, panic erupted. Their infection spreads through emotion, not code. One shouted, their chaos is organized. Their disobedience is logical. They're not a species, Counselor Vec said coldly. They're a virus with a heartbeat. Outside the nest, Milo raised a homemade antenna. The stars above twinkled. Strangely, ships falling like quiet snow. The buzzard didn't return. It burned in orbit, a human torch against the void. But the message was clear. Earth was not beaten. Earth had never been tamed. And now the galaxy knew. Humans didn't fear. Death feared humans. The buzzard never returned. Its blackened remains floated in orbit, still glowing faintly above Earth's atmosphere. To the humans below, it became more than just a machine. It became a symbol, a message written in smoke and metal. In the nest, the radio went silent after the virus hit. For 10 full minutes, no one spoke. Then a signal came through. It was shaky and broken, but Illyra's voice was clear. Jax didn't make it, but the fleet. It's blind now. They can't see us. A wave of sound burst from the survivors' cheers. Tears banging on tables. Across the ruins of Earth, People lifted their heads. The sky looked less dangerous. The silence from the alien ships above meant something new. They weren't watching anymore. They were afraid. In the mountains, rebel scouts walked freely under stars. In ruined cities, humans danced in the streets to static-filled music. On burned battlefields, they planted flags made of shirts, wires, and hope. But Alira didn't celebrate. She sat alone in the buzzard's broken pod, now docked inside a crashed alien satellite. Her hand pressed against a cracked window, watching the stars shift. "He said we'd make them remember," she whispered. He was right. Down on Earth, young Nilo stood atop a pile of alien debris, holding a new antenna. His voice crackled over the airwaves. "To anyone listening, we're still here. The aliens came to destroy us, and we hacked their minds instead. They wanted control. They got Earth instead." The Galactic Council received the message, and it spread like wildfire through the stars. On distant planets, scholars and generals studied the recordings. They saw humans fighting without rules, winning without power, laughing through pain. On one council world, a group of elite strategists tried to map the resistance movements. The simulation AI returned an error, insufficient logic. Cannot predict. A people who laugh in fire. Meanwhile, Admiral Korath was still alive, his flagship half dead, his crew disoriented. The virus hadn't killed them, but it had infected everything they believed in. Drones wouldn't obey. Soldiers argued with computers. Navigation systems looped clips of human protest songs. He stood in the center of the ruined bridge, staring at the screen showing Earth's surface. Small bonfires, humans gathering. Some even waving toward the stars. It wasn't defiance, it was invitation. "Why aren't they afraid?" he asked. The science officer replied, "Because fear is our weapon, not theirs. We came with fear. They met us with madness." Korath breathed heavily. "Then we are losing to something we cannot destroy." In the shadows of space, other species watched closely. Some feared Earth's rage. Others admired its stubborn heart. But all of them agreed on one thing. Earth had changed the scale. It wasn't just a Deathworld anymore. It was a breaking point. A warning. A turning place in the galaxy's story. And then, something happened that shocked even the humans. A ship descended from orbit, not an attack craft, not a drone, but an open vessel. One large enough to land in a city square. It carried no weapons, no soldiers. Only one passenger. Admiral Korath stepped onto Earth's surface, unarmed. Humans surrounded the landing site, weapons ready, unsure. Alira walked slowly to the front. Line, blood-stained clothes, and cracked boots. She met Korath's eyes without flinching. "You came to finish the job?" she asked. Korath didn't answer right away. His eyes scanned the destruction, the people, the scars. His voice was soft. "No, I came to understand." A deep silence followed. Not even the wind moved. "I have seen thousands of worlds," he continued. "All of them fell. All obeyed. But you are different. You do not just fight. You infect. You spread chaos. You burn logic and laugh in the smoke." "And?" Alira asked. Korath looked down. "And we cannot fight that." From the crowd, a child stepped forward. He had no weapon, only a stick. He stared at the alien admiral with fearless eyes. "Then go home," the boy said. Korath nodded slowly. "Yes, but not because we're defeated, because we've been changed." That night, no battles were fought. That night, the last alien ship lifted into the sky. It didn't drop bombs. It dropped something else. Supplies, water, medical kits. A message printed on every box. "We misjudged you. The galaxy will never again." And just like that, the war ended. Not with surrender, not with victory, but with understanding. Back in the nest, Alira stood beside the young boy and the old woman who stitched the flag. Together, they watched the ship rise into the stars. What do we do now? Someone asked. Milo smiled, answered without thinking, we rebuild. But this time, the galaxy watches. Months passed. Where there had once been smoke and fire, there were now gardens growing through broken concrete. Where silence had ruled, laughter echoed again. Children drew alien ships on walls, not with fear, but with crayons. Earth was healing, but it would never be the same. And maybe that was the point. In the middle of a rebuilt park once scorched by orbital fire, a plaque had been placed into the stone. They came to conquer. We taught them something else. Illyra stood beside it, older now, her arms still wrapped in cloth from an old wound. Her face was calm, but her eyes scanned the sky as if expecting another ship to fall. Behind her, Milo adjusted a small satellite dish he had built with scavenged metal and old spoons. It now reached across half the solar system, not for war. For conversation, we're getting more messages, he said. From distant species, some asking how we did it. Some just saying ... thanks. They thought we were animals, Illyra replied. Now they want to learn from us. And they were, across the galaxy. Earth's actions had changed the very language of diplomacy. Alien generals spoke of resistance probability, but they no longer measured it by numbers. Now they asked, is this a human-level threat? On the Council worlds, new rules were carved into law. Do not invade Earth. Do not provoke Earth. Do not attempt to fix Earth. The new Deathworld classification was finalized. Above all the known classes of danger fire planets, acid worlds, radiation stars was Earth, Deathworld Omega, but Earth didn't want revenge. It wanted to rebuild. In old war zones, humans worked side by side with alien volunteers who had stayed behind. They shared tools, food, and jokes that didn't always translate. One alien tried to understand human humor and ended up starting a stand-up club on Mars. A Zarn drone once programmed to kill now helped a child fix a bike. Its old code had been overwritten with one of Milo's music tracks. It beeped with joy every time the wheels turned. Illyra visited the remains of the buzzard, now displayed in a museum made from a wrecked alien cruiser. People lit candles below it, not to mourn, but to remember. Next to it was Jox's jacket, folded carefully, and a small plaque. He flew into the fire so others could walk in the light. One night, as stars blinked peacefully above, Milo caught a new signal. A message, clean and clear, carried through old alien channels. This is Admiral Korath of the Zarn Dominion. I speak not as a conqueror, but as a student. To the humans of Earth, thank you. You reminded us what strength really means. Illyra listened quietly as the message played again. There was no hatred in the words. No regret, only respect. Milo turned to her. Do you think they'll come back? Illyra smiled faintly. Maybe, but if they do, it won't be with guns. Far across the galaxy, stories of Earth spread like wildfire. Some said humans could bend fire with their bare hands. Others claimed they controlled the wind. A few believed humans were born from stars. None of it was true. And yet, none of it felt completely false either, because Earth had done something no other world had. It made the galaxy feel. In a council meeting years later, a young species asked, what makes humans so dangerous? A silence followed. Then Counselor Vec answered, they are dangerous not because they kill, but because they refuse to be killed. Because even when surrounded, burning, and broken, they keep laughing, and they keep fighting. The young species nodded, recording every word. Back on Earth, peace didn't mean quiet. It meant rebuilding a world without forgetting the cost. Illyra finally took off her old resistance badge. She buried it beneath a tree she had planted on the edge of a rebuilt city. The tree's roots wrapped around the metal like a promise. Let the next generation grow wild, she whispered. And far above, Orbiting satellites spun silently. Not alien anymore, not entirely human either. A mix of both hybrid machines born from war, but built for peace. As Earth spun under the stars, it remained the same old world, blue, chaotic, beautiful. But to the galaxy watching, it was more than a planet. It was a warning dot, it was a legend dot, it was the world that taught even the stars to fear.